Hey everyone, it's the Sparkle Girl, or Caitlin Sparkle, whatever you prefer. So today, as you can notice, that I am going to review on everyone's favorite media of all times. Yes, you got it, guys. Disney. Yep, definitely Disney. So if we have to be pretty honest with you guys, I love Disney, just like you guys. So let's just say I have been a huge fan of it since as a little baby. Like, really, a baby. Let's just say I was born to like Disney. You know what I mean? So let's just say, as a baby, I usually used to watch like Winnie the Pooh all the time as a little baby. Until sometime when I was like 10, 5 or something. Until I started to watch some other cartoons, such as The Little Mermaid, Lilo and Stitch, or like Mickey Mouse, something like that. Oh, maybe Beauty and the Beast. Tinkerbell. Yeah, definitely Tinkerbell. So don't get me wrong, I do, cause let's just say I'm just like you guys. I like almost every Disney movies and characters too. So based off, I'm going to reveal my favorite Disney movie of all times. Some of you guys may already know, but to those of you who haven't, that's okay, because I'm going to tell you now. The Little Mermaid. And of course, Lilo and Stitch too. So, I had to admit, I kind of like both Little Mermaid and Lilo and Stitch as equal. They just, let's just say the cartoons I mostly watch when it comes to Disney, to be honest with you guys. But still, like I said before, I like almost every Disney movies, like Beauty and the Beast, Sleeping Beauty, Tarzan, Aladdin. Oh, there's so many. Ooh, how about Tinkerbell? Or how about Lion King? Or you just gotta give a little rawr, like rah 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 rah, like being a lion, something like that. And I also like the Aristocats. So some of you might have heard of it sometimes before, or I can't get my eyes off Bambi. I just so adore the movie. Well, I'll have to be honest, I kind of stick with the second film, actually. I still love the first movie, of course, because after all, Bambi is the cutest deer. And get me wrong, but I kind of got scared of the scene when Bambi's mum got killed, like off the screen. Lucky enough, it didn't show you though, because if they actually did that, I would be like horrified for years. But luckily, they did not. And I bet you guys can't agree with that point. I mean, I kind of feel sad that Bambi's mom got killed. I mean, is that really necessary, Disney? I mean, back in the 40s, when that film came out. Well, speaking of which, there are some scary moments in some Disney movies, if I had to break this up to you guys. And I know some of you might have like childhood nightmares of some of these scenes sometimes, and I don't blame you guys for it. Like, I think I've mentioned it sometimes before, that I also used to get scared of the scene when from Sleeping Beauty, with Maleficent turning into a dragon. Yeah, I didn't like that bit, like one bit as a kid. It doesn't bother me now, but sometimes it still gives me those childhood nostalgia memory sort of thing, like remind me how I used to get scared of it, something like that. You know what I mean? Yeah. There's so few things that I like about. I also like Tarzan, of course. If I have to be honest with you guys, I always get used to, and sometimes I can still a little bit, but I have to be honest, the opening of Tarzan, that always gives me the heebie-jeebies. Like, it's just the way it just plays from the very beginning, and then it just takes you through the jungle, and then just have like the whole logo just shows up, and that always gave me a run of fright as a kid. Every time I used to watch it on the VHS, and I was like, ah! Well, something like that. Sorry if I give you a jump, guys. Sorry, but if I had to be pretty honest, I did kind of like freaked out. I didn't scream, of course. I mean, I'm not like anyone else, like who does screams that most people do, something like that. Because I personally don't scream if I ever get scared. If I ever get scared, I always like, okay, something like that. But don't worry, I'm not scared. Just in case if you think I was going to be scared, but nothing to you guys to get worried about. Yeah. Oh, and that same thing with Tarzan too. Oh, I especially, oh, I definitely remember this from later on Stitch 2, Stitch has a glitch. Some of you might have seen my community post sometimes before that I mentioned that I also used to get scared of Stitch glitching. Oh, that used to scare me a lot as a kid. It still sometimes can give me like, like I said before, about childhood memory can give you a bit of, like, reminding, something like that. Don't get me wrong. And there are also a few happy moments throughout the whole Disney movies. And I definitely love The Little Mermaid. And I never stop loving The Little Mermaid. But don't get me wrong, I do like other cartoons. But The Little Mermaid and Lilo and Stitch, they're just so interesting. Like, I think Lilo and Stitch deserve a bit of more spotlight than they, But I would say all cartoons deserves it to have spotlight, like, as equal. And I know some people seem to have, like ranking on the movies and all kinds, especially on the characters. But I don't blame you guys for it. But if I had to be pretty honest, I'm not really too keen on ranking sometimes, because if we ever did that sometimes in the future, some of you guys might disagree with me on my own points of view, something like that. But don't blame me though, and I do sometimes can feel the same way as you do when someone has their own ranks. So something like that. And I definitely like Marie from the Aristocats. She's just so cute, and she wears a little pink bow. That always makes, I have to be pretty honest, it just makes her so adorable wearing a little pink bow. Almost reminded me with my own dogs, even though they're not cats, but Betty and Bella they're called. Yeah, I just love dogs and cats, and I know some of you may don't like cats or dogs, but I will respect your opinion on those type of animals. But if I had to put this up to you guys, I think cats and dogs are the best, no matter what. So, like I said, I will respect your opinion. And, oh yeah, I also like Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs. Yeah, and I believe that's the very first Disney movie. But clearly, that's not really the first Disney movie, actually. It's actually the first Disney movie to be in color. Because I believe the very first Disney movie, which is, well, let's just say Disney start with black and white, and it's actually called Steamboat Willie. Some of you might remember this logo where you can see Mickey whistling while he was like steering this like a wheel or something. Well, that's actually based on that film. Actually, if you're interested in watching that film, it's actually on Disney Plus. Be free to watch it if you need to. And so anyway, like I said about Snow White, that's actually the first Disney movie to be in color. So don't get me wrong, I know it can be a bit confusing of having the, Steamboat Willie as a very first movie, but in black and white, while Snow White to be the first movie to be in color. I know it's kind of a bit weird sometimes, but have to accept it, So don't get me wrong, because I also believe Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs actually came out sometimes during this whole World War One. Sorry, two actually. I think. Oh, I can't think anymore. But actually, no, wait. World War Two. That's it. Oh, stupid me. Sorry, I sometimes keep mixing things up. Um, so that's all I remembered because that's just how I learned. And I also going to mention on how I first become a fan of Disney. So even though I did mention that Winnie the Pooh was the first Disney I've watched as a kid, well, basically as a baby, turning into a child and that. So if I had to be honest, ever since my mom has the sort of idea of having Winnie the Pooh as my own bedroom, and while my sister has Peter Rabbit, that's how I got myself introducing to Disney for the first time. Because I used to have this like this mobile thingy, that spins around, like on the ceiling when you're as a baby, when you're in your own crib. That's the mobile thingy called. Because every time you watch it helps you go to sleep and that. Something like that. And I can't really remember what it looks like though, but I know it had different characters on it. Because sometimes I'm not really good out with the detailings and that though. Yeah. And I also, let's just say while growing up, like from being a kid and that, somehow a baby as well, that I did used to always collect DVDs and VHS. Which I still do, but I don't have VHS anymore, sadly, since my mom threw them away. But luckily, I still got my own DVDs, of course, because I always, let's just say I had this sort of thing that I want to keep them forever because they help me realize that childhood is very important to me. And speaking of childhood, that I always believe that I should say that the children from nowadays should learn this in school, that something, the importance of nostalgia, or the word childhood, whatever you guys prefer to call it. And it is very important to those who grow up from the, from the 20 decades, something like that. I'm not saying that all of us are really old. I mean, jeez, guys. You can't possibly think I'm calling ourselves old, did you? No. I would never think of us like that. I always think that we're the people who knows the meaning of childhood. Because childhood is just something like we can't get the answer. Like, it's just so hard, And it is kind of magical about it. Some people may think childhood may not be magical in some way, but I think it is. Because magic is just so important to me. Like My Little Pony, of course. But don't get me wrong, I am a fan of My Little Pony for obvious reason. And I am a huge fan of Twilight Sparkle. Even though I never watched My Little Pony as a kid, but I have seen it since 2014 when I was 13 years old. But I can still kind of consider it as my childhood or something. But don't get me wrong, because when you're a kid, you always go oh, I want to be a grown up already. I want it to be quick, something like that. But now when you're older, around in your 20s or something, or younger or older than that, you go oh, I miss being a kid. I wish I go back in the past where I can watch the old movies and DVDs and oh la la, something like that. And I know I think, let's just say I know some of you guys may think I'm a bit silly, but clearly I'm not. I'm just telling the whole details about it, you know? And I may not be a huge fan of Peter Pan, but I do like the Return to Neverland film the most. Let's just say I'm more stick with Jane rather than Wendy sometimes. I still like Wendy, but Jane, I have to agree with her points about this whole. Well, don't get me wrong, I'm not exactly like Jane, like, you know, her personality and that. But don't get me wrong, I do like Jane as a character. But I do kind of think Jane is kind of a bit harsh, I would say, about Peter Pan being childish, whatever, and the way she said, "I do not believe in fairies," and I was like, "What? How do you not believe in fairies? I mean, how could you say something like that, Jane? Ugh, give me a break." And I know you guys will think, "Oh, come on, seriously now, Jane, why can't you just keep your opinion to yourself, like, for 1 minute?" And I can easily can't agree with you guys. Yeah. And I also like Tinkerbell movies. Well, you probably have seen my Tinkerbell review. You know, we're all Tinkerbell movies. So yeah. And I kind of have someone put a comment saying, "Have you seen the Tinkerbell movie?" Well, can I just be honest? Whoever you are, it's actually obvious that I have seen the film since I have reviewed the video. So just find it like unnecessary, okay? I'm not here to upset you, but I just rather you don't say it at all. Because sometimes every time I review some things and then get a comment saying, "Have you watched it?" or that, I'm just like, oh, come on, give me a break. And I'm sorry if I hurt your feelings, but you have to think before you actually comment it. Okay? So I'll just move on. So and I do like Lady and the Tramp. Yeah. Especially Lady and the Tramp 2, with, you know, called Scam's Adventure. And I also like oh, it's kinda hard. Lion King 2. And I also like this called Lion King, whatever you guys call it, but I rather prefer it to call it as Lion King 3, you know, with you know, as like with Timon and Pumbaa as the main character. Well, I know it's hard to you know, pronounce the actual title of the film because it's just the way it spells. I mean, I just wish it could just say Lion King 3 rather than just whatever they just called it, you know? So don't get me wrong though. And, oh, and when I mentioned about VHS, I did used to watch some of them, and I have a playlist of them on my own channel. And if you're interested, be free to do so. And, I also going to mention that I like and remember every adverts, trailers on each of those VHS videos on YouTube. And I'm glad to those people who have uploaded these type of videos on YouTube, because I'm thankful for that. And I bet some of you guys can agree with that as well. Because it's good enough though that every VHS that we have used to watch as a kid or still watch it like right now or something, which I don't, but some of you guys probably still have your own VHS at home. I was just gonna say that I'm happy for you guys that's if you have still got your own VHS at your house and that. And I also used to have like, it's hard to explain, but I used to have these type of DVDs of Disney collections, and I know exactly what they look like. They're like a small box set, and it's got like four different pictures of the Disney movies on it, like four of them on the actual DVD cover, and the actual background is actually blue. I just remember so well. I will never forget that memory. I mean, I did used to play them a lot as a kid. Sadly, I don't have them anymore. But luckily, since Disney Plus came along, I'm glad I don't have to watch all my favorite Disney movies. Yeah, definitely. And and speaking about VHS again, that ever since I watched the Little Mermaid VHS, the one that says the 1998, even though the film did came out in 1989, but the actual VHS of it came out in 1998. That's the one I used to have. I remember every trailers, especially this music video with Peter Anderson, I think his name is called, and he sings the song called "Kiss the Girl." I have to admit, I kind of love that version of the song. But don't get me wrong though, I also like the other version by Ashley Tisdale. You know, that some of you guys probably might remember the most from the actual 2006 DVD special edition. Something like that. Yeah. But I also like a Samuel E. Wright version. You know, the actor who plays Sebastian. Sadly, he's no longer here anymore either, Samuel E. Wright. It's kind of sad, really, though. And I still can't believe it. I mean, he's the greatest actor of all times. Oh, and reminded myself again, Kinsbuckle, that I also believe the actress who plays Ursula, she also passed away. Oh my gee. You know, I know it's sad, I know it's heartbreaking, but don't get too upset, guys. I know how you feel when losing our favorite legends. He voices our favorite characters and that, especially the woman called um, Angelina Lansbury. You know, the one who plays Mrs. Potts from the original Beauty and the Beast. Yeah, I kind of feel sad and feel sorry at the same time. I mean, I still can't believe she also gone. How many Disney legends have we lost already? I mean, seriously? Don't worry, I'm not crying. I'm just sharing my little emotional, thoughts on that. And a bit of concerns. Yeah. Oh, did you know that the woman called Lucy something, and she was the voice of Minnie Mouse. She also passed away. But I believe her husband used to voice Mickey Mouse until he passed away in 2009. And you guys can't possibly gonna believe this, but I believe Lucy actually passed away in 2019. So the two old legend couples passed away, like, I would say 18 years apart. I mean, seriously, wow. I mean, I'm only saying that because I feel like surprised by it, because the way it's been like 18 years apart from each other. Mm. Well, at least they're both together now in heaven, you know? And I'm glad that they are, because I'm happy for them. Even though it's still sad to lose our favorite actors who did the voice of our favorite characters on Disney movies, or maybe some like other cartoons that you guys or I have watched for like growing up. Oh, and I also like Cinderella too. Oh, I can't get my. Okay, okay. And I also like Cinderella 3. Oh, I also like Dumbo. And I also like Fox and the Hound. Hmm. Oh, especially Monster Inc. Oh, and I also like Toy Story. Well, clearly not the first movie, of course, but I do like it a little bit sometimes. But I currently stick with Toy Story 2 and Toy Story 3 because they're the ones I grew up watching the most. Well, that's just how I remembered. Oh, and I also watched The Little Mermaid 2, with Melody, Ariel's daughter. And I also like Ariel's beginning, the prequel to the original Little Mermaid. Yeah, something like that. And I also like Milan. Yeah. And I also like the second film of Milan, Milan 2. But don't get me wrong, I know most people doesn't really like Milan 2, but can I just be honest? I think you just give it a chance or something, please, because I don't like it when people happen to hate that movie. I just don't like it one bit. But I will respect it. It's just sometimes having people hating on the things that I like, or having some people who doesn't like what you like, I just find it a bit, a bit little cruel sometimes. But don't get me wrong, because opinion is opinion, or a fact, or whatever, something like that, you know? Yeah. And I also have seen Mary Poppins. I don't know if some of you might have seen that movie, but I have seen it sometimes, I would say more than just once. But as a kid though, I barely watch it now growing up. But I just let's just say I used to have a VHS of it, of course, and I'm not too sure whether you guys have heard of this direct-to-video film. Well, I think if I got that correctly, I think it's based on the actual TV show. I think, and it's called Buzz Lightyear of Star Command. The adventure begins, starring Tim Allen. Something like that. Yeah. And don't get me wrong, because there is a new Buzz Lightyear film that just came out last year. And I believe most of you have seen it already, but I haven't seen it quite yet. Well, let's just say um okay. If I had to be honest, I'd rather not watch it at all. It just I'm not really much a fan of these space stuff. But I might if I ever want to watch it, I'll just think about it. I mean, really. It's just let's just say, like I said, opinion is opinion, but I just rather think about it. Yeah, something like that. Oh, have you guys have ever heard of this thingy film, which is actually based on the House of Mouse, and it's called Mickey's Magical Christmas, snowed in at the House of Mouse, or the Halloween, the called the House of Mouse, or the House of Villains, I think it's called. Something like that. I can't remember now. It's been a long while since I've seen those movies. But I kind of like these movies sometimes. Well, I would stick with the Christmas one, actually, because it's just so magical. Like Christmas songs, Christmas spirit, and don't start with the who, the Scrooge. I can't understand him. I mean, what is wrong with him? What is wrong with Christmas? How come some people can't get the spirit of Christmas? Christmas is special. It's a very good year holiday, and well, don't get me wrong, I do love Christmas. And after all, Christmas is just one of my favorite holidays, you know, including Halloween sometimes. I'm not really much a fan of Halloween at the moment while growing up, but I still like it like a little bit. It depends on the mood, you know? Especially when you think of Michael Jackson's Thriller. You're like, Thriller, Thriller night. Doo doo. You know? Okay. Don't get me wrong, but I kind of love that song. Well, maybe a bit. I just can't get my head think. Like, really? Tail Sparkle? Can't you ever stop thinking? You know? Ugh. Okay. And, oh jeez. So many. And of course, Disney is not the only thing I watch throughout my whole life. I've also watched some movies based on Roald Dahl's books, such as Matilda, The BFG, Charlie and the Chocolate Factory. Well, technically, I kind of prefer with the one that came out in 2005, not the one that some of you may like, or something like that, the best book that came out back in the 70s. So, something like that. Oh, kind of just have to admit this because I kind of like the film Ratatouille, you know, Ratatouille. But don't get me wrong, I don't blame those who doesn't like rats, but I don't really that mind with them sometimes. It depends really. Well, I have seen rats like 3 times, but every time I see them, or just to be honest with you guys, I believe my sister is scared of them. Well, I can't possibly blame her though. Yeah, don't tell me about it. So, like I said, I kind of like the film Ratatouille, and it's always made me feel hungry. You know, like I want to eat food, like while watching a film. You know, don't get me wrong. And I believe Ratatouille is actually a food itself, because I haven't tried it quite yet, or something like that. But I might have a try sometime in the future, but I don't know exactly when. But maybe one day, I don't know. And ever since it came out, I always feel like I want to be in Paris, you know? Well, that's not the only thing I like that I want to go to Paris sometimes. I also like to go to Paris because of, you know, this whole miraculous ladybug thing. And basically, I have been to Paris like once before. Well, not the actual Paris that most of you guys might think that I've been to, you know, with the Eiffel Tower. But the Paris I went where I went to Disneyland Paris. Yeah. And I actually kind of rented one of the rides, and I ended up being on the actual ride with, yeah, Ratatouille. Yeah, you got that right, girls and boys. Yeah. So, so many of them, you know. And I also remember Moana. Yeah, Moana. It's kind of hard to because sometimes, because I keep getting this thing, you know, between both Mulan and Moana. Because even though they don't sound exactly the same, but they do look like well, they do kind of try to be, I don't know, it's harder to explain, but all I'm saying that Moana and Mulan can be a bit close call, something like that, like almost the exact same name or title or something like that, because it's just the way it spells. I kind of just find it a bit funny sometimes. Don't get me wrong, because if you think about it, like with Dumbo or Bambi, every time I spell either Bambi or Dumbo, I always change the names like very quickly. Like if I spell Dumbo, I get rid of the DU and O, and then just put B, A, and an I. Something like that. And if you think of the other way round with Bambi with Dumbo, that's what I mean. Okay, so, like I said, I don't want to bore you guys to death like I keep saying, and I know how you guys can feel if about don't want to watch the video about like too long. Oh, and also, I also remembered this actual Disney film, and it's actually kind of between both live action and cartoon at the same time. Enchanted. Yeah, I love the film, and especially the song, How Does She Know? Something like that. And I also like this other Disney film, and it's a Pixar film, and it's good to say, Finding Nemo. I love Finding Nemo. One of the best movies of all time. It's just so magical somehow, you know? Oh, I definitely remember Frozen. Ugh, so many of those Disney films. Oh, I also remember this peculiar TV show from the actual Disney Junior. Some of you guys kind of find it obvious, but some of you may not know, but I'm going to mention Sophia the First. I kind of love that show, to be honest. And I still like it. Like, you know. Oh, and I also like High School Musical. Oh, and I also like Descendants, and there's so many of these Disney stuff. And besides, Disney has been around since I would say, 20s, I think. Because if you guys remember this guy called Walt Disney, well, it's kind of obvious because he's the guy who did Disney, because it's based on his name, which is sadly he's also passed away sometime in the 60s, I think. Yeah, true. I just remember something else. I also remembered this other Disney movie that you guys can't possibly going to believe. Tangled. And you know, guess what? You probably might see my community poster of it, but it came out on my own birthday in 2010. When I first found out about it when I was a kid, I was like, oh my gee, can't believe it. Something like that. Yeah, don't get me wrong, I love the film. And same thing with Encanto. It came out on my own birthday as well in 2021. I mean, how many Disney movies that came out on my birthday? Okay, I'm down, King Sparkle. But I also believe Toy Story 2 actually shared the exact same date as my own birthday, even though that wasn't really my birthday at that time, back in the, in the 90s. But I had to bring it up to you guys. If I ever had been born on that day in 1999, would it be, like, convenience? Like, imagine that. I would be almost the same age as Toy Story 2. Imagine that. Oh, and that kind of reminds me from the actual episode from the Chipmunk Go to the Movies, with the episode called Sploosh. That shared the same date, and it came out in 1990. Tell me about it. Yeah. Anyway, I just hope you guys enjoy my video. And if you want to share your thoughts about Disney, be free to do so in the comments. And like I said, I always have interest on seeing your comments. So, I hope you guys enjoy my video anyway. I'll leave you guys alone. Bye.